Oxford and Cambridge, two historic British cities with a legendary rivalry, home to the nation's two oldest universities. Thousands of students compete every year for a place at one of these highly prestigious institutions. But even if you don't get the chance to study at either Oxford or Cambridge, you can still take in the university lifestyle on a trip to one of the cities. But if you're looking to visit one of these historic university cities as a tourist, say on a day trip from London or for a longer stay, which one should you visit? Well, let's take a look. Note that this video isn't going to tell you which is the better university to study at, but simply which is better to visit as a tourist. And we'll be comparing Oxford and Cambridge in a number of categories, ranging from their history, beauty, things to see and do, and value for money. There are plenty of similarities between the two, and the biggest one of course comes in the form of the city's universities, the centrepiece of their history. Of the two, Oxford is the older university, established over 900 years ago around the year 1096 AD, while Cambridge dates from the year 1209 AD. Both universities are made up of a number of historic colleges, and they've both produced some of the most famous names in British history. The reason for these similarities goes back to the university's founding, as Cambridge was established by a number of scholars who fled Oxford, after they began facing increased hostility, and in some cases violence, from Oxford locals, a classic dispute between the townspeople and university members known as Town and Gown. There's little violence involved in the Town and Gown dispute today, and both universities make up the central attraction for any visitor to either Oxford or Cambridge. Strolling the streets, you can pass by some of the most iconic university landmarks in each city, while many of Oxford and Cambridge's most historic colleges offer tours or simple access to their grounds for a small fee. Of the two, if you're looking to really get up close and personal with the university sphere, then Cambridge is arguably the better place to visit. You can pay to enter the grounds of its colleges, or better yet, take a punting trip along the River Cam, which allows you to calmly float by some of the most iconic sites in the city, and to pass under just a handful of the city's many enchanting bridges. On the whole, the historic core of Cambridge, a little smaller than that of Oxford, is absolutely dominated by the university, with students strolling or cycling past between college buildings wherever you look. Oxford, on the other hand, is more akin to a normal city, where university life and public life blend together much more seamlessly. As such, while Cambridge is probably the better place to visit if you're looking to immerse yourself in university life, Oxford is definitely the destination should you be looking to spend a little bit longer than a day in town, with not just a wealth of university landmarks to see, but plenty more history on every corner. During the English Civil War, Oxford served as King Charles I's wartime capital. It's also home to a spectacular medieval castle and former jailhouse, a wealth of captivating churches, museums, and, for pop culture fans, a wide array of sites related to the classic TV show Inspector Morse and the Harry Potter novels. Some say that this crack in the ground, just outside the university's Caledonian Theatre, was the inspiration for the young wizard's famous lightning bolt scar. In the category of history, therefore, Oxford might pip Cambridge as the better destination. Though if you're purely interested in living it up like a university student, then Cambridge might be the place for you. But while it's always fascinating to learn about the histories of cities like these, simply strolling the streets and taking in the beauty of Oxford or Cambridge is also a must on any trip to one of the cities. Oxford, with the wealth of medieval, Georgian, Victorian, and even more recent architecture lining its city streets, is one of the most impressive places you can visit in Britain. Its array of churches and tall university buildings even earning it the nickname, the City of Dreaming Spires. However, on the beauty front, Cambridge is even more spectacular. As we mentioned, while Oxford feels a bit more like a city, Cambridge's smaller historic core, narrow streets, and proximity to nature make it especially quaint. The university buildings are one thing, but you can also take in some stunning views across the city from atop the mound of the medieval Cambridge Castle, peruse the colourful shops and houses of Magdalen Street, explore the city's delightful daily market, and best of all, sit back and relax beside the beautiful River Cam. The river is the jewel in Cambridge's crown, with a wonderfully calming atmosphere despite being located in the heart of the city. A punting trip down the river between the university colleges is an absolute must, but you can also head in the other direction further out into the countryside, calmly rowing along the Cam in the direction of the beautiful village of Grantchester, once upon a time a popular retreat for scholars and the upper classes, and where you can still take afternoon tea or have a sit down in the pub garden. So if you're looking to be bowled over by beautiful buildings and scenery, Cambridge is certainly the place to go. Though Oxford, which also offers punting trips on the nearby River Cherwell, is also home to plenty of eye-catching sights. What specifically are the best things to see and do in Oxford and Cambridge, though? Well, in Oxford, unmissable landmarks include the iconic Radcliffe Camera, an 18th century science library building, Christ Church with its great quadrangle, Tom Tower and historic cathedral, the Bodleian Library, the university's main research library and the second largest library in the UK, and of course Oxford Castle and Prison, which we mentioned earlier. There's also the Ashmolean Museum, the best museum in Oxford, which is renowned as the home of the Oxford dodo, the stuffed body of the last dodo bird ever seen in Europe. There's the so-called Bridge of Sighs, so named for its resemblance to the iconic canal crossing in Venice, though you can't actually walk across it, and plenty of university buildings which were used as filming locations for the Harry Potter movies. Over in Cambridge, punting trips along the Cam are certainly the best thing to do in town. There's also the Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge's answer to the Ashmolean, a wide range of other academic museums, ranging from archaeology to the history of science, zoology and more. And of course you can't miss out visiting some of the city's most famous landmarks, Great St Mary's Church, King's College, Trinity College, the Round Church, and Cambridge's own Bridge of Sighs, which you also can't walk across, but can admire from a short distance away. There are so many things to see and do on a visit to either Oxford or Cambridge, but perhaps Oxford is the place where you'll really never run out of attractions. And finally, what about value for money? Well, this all of course depends on what kind of trip you'll be making to Oxford or Cambridge. I'm sure there are plenty of ways to splash the cash in both places, but if you're looking to visit on a budget, then both cities are still well within reach for either a day trip or an overnight stay. You'll find a wide array of hotels and hostels of all types in both cities, though especially in Cambridge, most are located a short distance away from the university's compact historic core. Getting to either city from London is extremely easy. Trains to Cambridge mostly depart from King's Cross Station, with high-speed trains and stopper Thameslink trains travelling almost constantly, the fastest trains making the journey in just over 45 minutes. A day return will set you back somewhere between £25 and £50 per person, depending on what time of day you travel and how far ahead you book your tickets. Oxford too is closely linked with London. Trains typically leave from Paddington Station and take around an hour, and a day return will usually cost you about the same as Cambridge, again dependent on the time of day and booking in advance. One of the most popular ways to travel to Oxford from London, however, is by the so-called Oxford Tube, a handy coach service that leaves from London Victoria Coach Station and which offers return tickets for under £20, usually with the added bonus of inbuilt flexibility, allowing you to return at whatever time you'd like. There's no real winner in terms of which city is easiest to get to, but in terms of value for money, Oxford is known to be just a little bit more expensive than Cambridge, its cafes, restaurants and hotels generally charging a little more, though both cities are pretty expensive when compared to the UK as a whole. What value you get out of your money really depends on what you're there to see, but if you still can't decide between the two, let's go through our categories once again to see which of Oxford or Cambridge you should visit. When it comes to history, Oxford is easily the winner, the older university, and with a lot more than just its university to showcase. In terms of beauty, Cambridge stands tall. Its stunning riverside scenery is some of the very best in the whole country. For things to see and do, Oxford probably has more, but you'd struggle to be bored in Cambridge either. And value for money, Cambridge is generally a little less expensive if you're looking to visit on a budget. So in all, that means that Cambridge just about pips Oxford as the place to visit. Though of course if you have the chance, I'd thoroughly recommend you visit both of these beautiful and captivating cities, and compare and contrast their many similarities and intriguing differences. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful if you're planning